Hi everyone, welcome back to YoungBot Academy. So today we are going to discuss about soil moisture sensor. Basically, by using soil moisture sensor, we can understand whether the soil is in dry state or in wet state. So these kind of soil moisture sensors we will be using in agriculture related or irrigation related projects. Today we are going to understand about this sensor, how it will work, everything in detail in Tinkercad. So now let me share my screen and open Tinkercad platform. So let me open Tinkercad. So here in Tinkercad, let's create a new project in circuits. To do this project, first of all, we should take an Arduino board. Just give me a second. Or let me keep this one in the right and then open. Let me make it short. Yeah. So the first thing, as I told you before, we should take an Arduino board. And if you go down slowly, you can see a soil moisture sensor. First of all, we should do the connections to the soil moisture sensor from Arduino. So this soil moisture sensor will be having three pins: power, GND, signal. As you already know that power means 5 volt or nothing but VCC. GND means ground. Signal means you will be connecting this to a digital pin. So now let me connect the 5 volts to power. As we have discussed many times before, 5 volts or power or voltage that will be represented in red color. Ground. So we should connect GND or ground to GND on Arduino. So there are two GNDs in the bottom. I'm going to choose this one. Okay. And as you know, GND will be represented in black color. Finally, signal. Signal means it's gonna connect to either digital pin or analog pin. I am going to connect it to analog pin because I can see the values in detailed. If I connect it to digital pin, the values are going to be just 0 or 1. But here, it will be giving huge values, like you can easily understand the presence of water level in soil, how much water level, low, medium, high, like that. Now I'm done with the connections. Now it's time to do the code. Let's go to code and click here, then choose text, then continue. Here we should remove the unnecessary stuff. Here also you should remove this stuff. And then first thing what we need to do is we should write pin mode. Pin mode. Pin mode, open bracket. I have connected my sensor to pin number A0. So A0 comma input. I'm done with pin mode. But now whatever the values that which sensor is reading and giving it to Arduino, we should print them, right? Where we can print? We can print it on serial monitor. Whenever you are using serial monitor, so you should be writing this serial dot begin 9600. Serial dot begin open bracket 9600. This will build the communication in between serial monitor and Arduino board. Okay. And you see input. Why it is input? Sensor will take the information from environment and it will pass it to Arduino. For Arduino, sensor is an input device, just like a mouse or keyboard for your computers. Now here we build communication between serial and Arduino. We did pin mode as well. Now the first thing in void loop, what we need to do, we should create a variable int moist. Moist is the name of the variable, that which one, the one which will store the data of moisture content in soil. Moist equals to, as we have connected to analog pin, we should write analog read. If we might have connected that to digital pin, we will be writing digital read, but we connected to analog, right? A0. That's why I'm writing analog read, open bracket, A0. And after that, if you go down, you should print the value of sensor. How to print the value? The value we read here and we stored in the word called moist. and this moist we need to print in serial monitor. Serial dot print ln open bracket moist. So I have printed that. Now we will test it how it's going to work. First thing what we need to do is we should click on start simulation, and after that we should open serial monitor, and the serial monitor is getting the values from the sensor. Initially it is showing 0. Now let's click on the soil moisture sensor and move this bar that indicates the amount of water or moisture level in the soil. If I move it right, you see it's giving values. If you keep on moving right set, the values are getting raised up. So what is the maximum value here? 876. Minimum 0. So if it is 0 or less than 100 or less than 200, the soil is in dry state. If it is more, like more than 500, 600, 700 like that, then soil is in wet state. So now you understood how this sensor will work. Now we will print whether the soil is in dry state or wet state based on these values. Okay, now how to print these values, whether it is wet or dry, how to print it. So now let me remove this, and after removing it, let's write a conditional statement. If open bracket, if moist less than 300, then print soil is in dry state. How to print it? Serial dot print ln open bracket, we should write here quotations open, soil is in dry state. We are done with the dry state, and now we should do wet state. How to do that? Else open bracket, the same thing, but this time we should keep soil is in wet state. Serial dot print ln open bracket, soil is in wet state. Now we are done. See, we have completed this entire project within very few seconds, right? Few minutes, I can say. First, we read the value, then we printed it in serial monitor, and based on these values, we wrote a conditional statement. If the value is less than 300, then it is dry. More than that, then it is wet. Now let's test it how it is going to work. Let's start simulation. So it's some random error. It's not because of the coding or connections. Let's try it again. Just wait a while. Yeah. So now it started working and it's printed soil is in dry state. Now let me move it right and see what's going to print. Soil is in wet state. And if you are unable to read it, let's do one small thing. So just let's keep a small delay. Delay 200. So that it will print slowly instead of that fast. Same delay 200 here also. Now let's try again. Now see, it's printing soil is in dry state. Now if I move it right, it's printing soil is in wet state. That is how it will work. I hope you understood this project. So you also try it out once in Tinkercad, and we are going to do the next project as well in today only. So thank you very much for watching till now. Bye bye.